What I mean in the simplest terms, and not to confuse you, right is right and wrong is just plain wrong. Treat people like you want to be treated. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to Pay Yourself Back. You are hanging out with your man C. Los, and here it's all about mental awareness and spiritual wellness. If you are new here, then I highly recommend you subscribing. And to all of my subscribers, including some of my newest subscribers, wow, thank you for supporting me. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about the driving experience here in South Florida. You know, but let me just back up a minute and say, it's rare as a YouTuber from my experience that you come across people who recognize you and your channel. So recently I was at a car show in Miami and I ran into a really nice couple who are fans and subscribers of the channel as well. Shout out to Sonny and Jessica. She walked right up to me and asked me, she was like, "Excuse me, are you C. Los?" And I was like, yeah. So we chopped it up for a minute, talking about Florida and letting folks know what to expect before they visit or even plan on moving to South Florida. So I felt that knowing how to negotiate and deal with some of these driving habits here in South Florida is very important. So here we are today. Now, let me just first clear the air. I know that every state has their own issues with drivers and bad driving habits. I know this. But I can't speak for those other states. I can only speak for where I live, which is here in South Florida. Also, in keeping with that viewpoint, you're getting perspective from a guy who has lived in several different states and has a little bit more wisdom and knowledge, kind of versus someone who is, how do you say, fresh out of the box, transitioning from a teenager to a young adult and really haven't lived life yet, if that makes any sense. You see, so here's the turning lane. There's two lanes here. There's one going straight and there's one turning left. They will totally block the turning lane so that nobody can get through to turn. Totally disrespect, totally just don't care about anybody else but themselves, just so that they can get over here in this lane to turn. They'll block the lane. That's what I'm talking about. But respectfully speaking, guys, everybody is not going to agree with me, but as long as we can agree to disagree, it's a beautiful thing. It's all good. You see, sometimes in life, when we're around certain situations all the time, psychologically speaking, it becomes a norm and we become complacent in our own judgment, even though we know it's not right. What I mean in the simplest term, guys, is that right is right and wrong is just plain wrong. Treat people like you want to be treated. I talk about this all the time. Now, there's no real way of me sugarcoating this, so I'm just gonna kind of go into it. I'm going to touch on 5 common driving issues that you're going to face when you're here in South Florida. Can we have a moment of silence? Okay, I've never been to a place where people will stop their car in the middle of the street and have a full-out conversation. It just blows my mind. I mean, who does that? Okay, let's go ahead and go into it, guys. Number 1, drivers do not signal. Let me back up. I'm not going to say all drivers do not signal, but I will say about 80% of drivers do not signal. That kind of goes back to that complacency thing that we were talking about. Number 2, texting while driving. This is one of my biggest, I would say one of my biggest pet peeves, and it should be your biggest pet peeve as well, because you know it is very dangerous. But you know, one of the things is, as of July 1st, the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, excuse me, not Rick, I keep thinking about Rick. Ron DeSantis signed a bill banning texting while driving, but they still do it anyway. Yeah, they do it. You know, fines range between $30 and $60. Whoop-de-woo. So here's the thing. You're sitting at a red light. Light turns green, and they sit there with a whole line of traffic behind them. People honking at me. I'm like, player, it ain't me. It's the car in front of me. Man, it's just bad. It's just bad. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. It is what it is, you know. Number 3, Hit and run. This is a really big one, guys. If you're a pedestrian and you're out jogging, riding a bike, or even driving up and down these streets and you get hit, I mean, don't expect them to stop, because they absolutely will not. There's a lot of hit and runs here. I just don't understand it. You know, I hate to put everybody in that same category of hit and run, because there are some people that stop. Let me just back up. But the majority of people, from what I have seen, do not stop. Now, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but if you know that you have just mauled down a pedestrian or innocent bystander, there's about 3 reasons why you wouldn't stop. Number 1, driving under the influence, DUI. Remember back in the day, it used to be called DWI, driving while intoxicated. Well, nowadays you got clowns out there who are get behind the wheel that are high on marijuana, methamphetamines, you know, crack, cocaine, Oxycontin, Percocet, Vicodin, you name it, the list goes on. So nowadays they call it DUI, where it's all combined into one, driving under the influence. Number 2, suspended license, or even no license. Real quick story, a sad story. Recently, a Broward County sheriff's deputy was responding to a domestic violence call, and he was killed by a man who was obviously over the legal limit. And the even more sad part about it is that this gentleman was a car salesman, and he was driving on a suspended license. Now, just think about that. Just think about that. You know, you're a car salesman. First of all, how's that going to look? You're a car salesman and you got a suspended license. Now, how would you go about when you have clients and you got to give test drives and you have a suspended license? How does that work? You're in a car. I mean, next time you're going to test drive, just think about it. I mean, the guy who's driving on the driver's side, the salesman, and he's pulling off the lot, you know, you don't know if he's got a suspended license, if he's high. You know, these are things that it just, I mean, a lot of things come out the closet, I guess, you know, when certain situations happens and it exposes a lot of people. So it's just something to think about. Number 3, adding to that, you ain't supposed to be here. Read between the lines. Really, speaking of a suspended license, did you know that these are additional things that could get your license suspended? Check them out. What you don't know might hurt you. All right, anyway, number 4. People here do not move over for EMS vehicles, and that is Emergency Medical Service Vehicle, EMS, which is a Florida state law. You know those things with the loud horns and the sirens going off. I mean, they're visible for a long way. You can see these. They just kind of ride along with them, ride alongside of them like it's cool. Yeah. Number 5, last but not least, road rage. I would say that Florida probably has about the same amount of road rage as everywhere else, maybe less because of the stand your ground law. Nevertheless, people nowadays are just so damn quick to pick up a gun instead of working out the differences like decent human beings. It's just super sad, guys. I don't know. You don't really have to question what your insurance rates are going to be when I mean, they're going to increase regardless of what your driving record looks like. You can have a perfect driving record, but it's going to go up. Now, to Florida's credit, I will say that it's not necessarily because of the driving habits, but it is. Has a lot to do with it. But you also got to factor in hurricanes and inclement weather and things of that nature to increase it as well. Also, in the latter part of the year, you kind of start to see a lot more people on the street, a lot more drivers, a lot more just people coming here to vacation. You have a lot of people from out of state that have homes here. So it's in particular Canada, you know, because their winter is our summer. Here in South Florida, it doesn't get cold. So they come here and they come on vacation for a month or whatever the case may be. And so streets become a little bit hectic here in South Florida. So that is something that also adds to the confusion out here on these streets, tourists. I mean, there's a lot of things that factor in other than just the people who live here, I guess. Tourists who don't know where they're going. But that's just a small number. I mean, those people come, but yeah. In conclusion, basically, you know, you got bad drivers who have bad driving habits anywhere in the world. If you plan on coming to Florida or you plan on moving here, this is just a little video that I like to call "Know Before You Go." I may have left out some things, but the bulk of what I'm trying to say is that this is the way that it is. This is what I have noticed. If you come here, you're gonna notice the same thing. Actually, this is public information. Basically, what I've just talked about to you is you can Google it, and it all say the same thing. The further south you go, in my opinion, Miami is really challenging. Really challenging. I-95 is one of the major interstates that run through the state of Florida. Really dangerous. I'm just gonna say it. Really dangerous. To me, I've experienced some near-death occurrences on I-95. So I tend to not get on the I-95. I tend to avoid I-95 like the plague and take the side streets. It just sometimes it kind of turns a good experience into a bad experience. You just kind of like want to just stay off of certain streets. So anyway, guys, I think that's really about it. If you have some comments, which I know you will, you have some questions, leave them in the comments section. And although this video might seem like a negative video, it is not a negative video. Like I said, I'm not trying to bad mouth or throw shade on Florida. So if you got something negative to say, just don't even say it. If you have something constructive to say, something to add to the video, by all means, please leave me a comment. Subscribe to the channel, obviously. If you want to see more videos about South Florida, let me know, because I'll do that for you. I'm a little backed up right now, real busy, but I will get to you eventually. So leave me a comment. Hey man, with that being said, be well, my friend. CeeLos out, baby.